Hi, I'm J. Lenora Bressler, and welcome to the June 11, 2017 edition of The Bible Delight in the Details. We are now on a multi-session series regarding the Psalms, and today is the last day on Psalm 1. We've been talking about that Psalm 1, like many of the wisdom psalms, places two contrasting pictures before us. In this case, we've been looking at the wicked, which is really better defined as those simply without God, and the blessed, which means those who are in right relationship with God. Not that they are perfect by any means, but simply it has to do with their status before God. Are they in a right relationship or not? Now, what we have seen in this rather brief 8-verse psalm is that there are two choices to be made. One is, what does the blessed look like? How do they act? What do they do? What do they not do? And what will be the result of their life? And then, of course, it's contrasted with those who do not have God in their lives. And I want to point out at this juncture that you see this in Proverbs as well, but in all wisdom literature, or at least most, it is very common to have the two roads kind of issue. Two roads diverged in a wood, so to speak, as the great poet Robert Frost would say. And I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Way back, going all the way back to ancient Greece, when philosophers and those who are touting wisdom wanted to teach, they often would espouse two different choices. And we see that actually throughout the Bible as well. Moses, Joshua, Jesus, you go on and on. Great teachers in the Bible often tell people straight out, there are two choices, make your choice. This is a very common aspect of wisdom literature, regardless of the nation from which it actually came. And so here again, we have the way of the blessed and the way of the wicked, the way of those who are in right relationship and those who are not. And the bottom line of wisdom, of course, literature, is it provides information and guidance that calls upon people then to make a choice. Moses said, there are two ways before you. There's a way of blessings and a way of curses. Choose. Joshua also said, there are two ways, but as for me and my house, we will follow the Lord. Christ talked about it in terms of the two roads. One is the narrow road, one is the wide road, and also the gate, the narrow and the wide gate. There are always two choices. And so we are called upon to study the Psalms, not just as the great literature, the great poetry, the great, at one time music that they were, but how are we going to apply this? There is a call to action in wisdom literature. We must make our choice. I always remember in one of my favorite musicals, Phantom of the Opera. The Phantom is standing there, and he's telling Christine, it's Raoul or it's me. Make your choice. And ultimately, you can go to Sunday school, you can sit but in front of great preachers, you can access the great fathers of antiquity, great church fathers. You can avail yourself of so many wonderful resources, but ultimately a choice has to be made. And so as we move forward in the Psalms, remember that this is all great and interesting things to study, but ultimately, what are you going to do with all this information? It applies to you. It informs your decision. One other thing I would like you to note is that in wisdom literature, there's not a third way. There are two ways generally, and we are asked to choose between them. And this is very interesting because we live in a modern culture where we love options. We love choices. You go to the grocery store. I'm sitting outside of a grocery store right now about to go in, and I'm thinking, how many cereal choices do we have? How many different deli meat packaging do we have choices of, and cheese and all the rest of them? Psychologists tell us that when you have too many choices, you get into analysis paralysis. You really can't choose. And so, there are a lot of money is spent on marketing of exactly how many choices should a person be given in order to actually help them move and not just be in this kind of paralysis state that they get from too many choices. Two choices is pretty clear. It's one or the other, you can go right, you can go left. This is important. How you choose to deal with God and God's claims is a matter of literally life and death, and even more than that, eternity. And therefore, he makes the choice pretty simple. Do we take door number 1 or door number 2? There's a fork in the road. One goes diametrically opposed to the other. There is not a third route. And perhaps that's good for us, because he wants to make it crystal clear that we may know as we make the decision exactly what we're choosing. I'm J. Lenora Bressler. Visit me tomorrow on the next edition of the Bible, Delight in the Details, as we start looking at Psalm 76. Bye-bye now.